We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you another episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, already in progress.
Oh, yeah, it's recording. You found the button.
Oh, I found it and I mashed it, baby.
Yeah. Did you see that we crested the 50 subscriber mark?
I did. I got a little excited, to tell you the
We didn't
truth.
get one of those play buttons to hang behind us.
No,
Maybe it
I
would
don't.
be black,
What
maybe.
would
I don't
what would
know.
they make that out of?
Well,
Tin?
that's what I don't know. Fur, something so inexpensive that, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think they even give you a play button till you crest like 100,000, I think, or something like that. So for those maybe don't know, when you're watching YouTubers, they'll hang. It looks like the play button, the
Yeah.
YouTube logo, but they put it on a plaque, and depending on how many subscribers you have, it has different, the gold and platinum and things of that nature. So, um, we are nowhere near receiving one of those yet, unless I make one. Maybe I'll do that with my 3D printer.
Yes, you should.
One back here on the brick wall to
We'll
have
probably
on
get
there.
some sort of license infringement for that nonsense.
I know. All
But
right.
while
Well,
you're talking about it, go ahead and subscribe
that's true. Down there
because
in the
yeah,
bottom.
because the longer you listen to us, you may change your mind. I don't know.
That's right. You can't undo it. So once it's there, it's done forever for the life of your account. Um, but unfortunately, we're going to need someone to subscribe this week. At least one person.
Oh,
We lost another subscriber.
well, the
Granted, it
attrition
was
thing
a
is
short term subscriber, but
well. I'm sorry, but yeah.
no, it's
So what do
fine.
you?
So for those who don't know, my father, who I just visited 3 or 4 weeks ago and made sure I subscribed his account to us, passed away this past weekend. So I was gonna, when you sent me the 50 subscriber thing, I knew at that point, but I wasn't ready to really exclaim it at all. So I was like, oh well, it would have been a good point to let you know it's going back down.
Well, he doesn't. We don't have to lose his subscription, do we?
No, well, it depends on how long. I guess they hold a dormant account or something like that. Because my brother's not going to cancel it, and he didn't pay for it, so his Gmail address is just going to be out there for X amount of years until they clean the account, I guess. So, but I would like to get a living person's subscription in there, replace that one if at all possible. So, well,
Well, there's a couple jokes in there I'm not going to do about you know
oh
people
please, I
dead
like,
people voting and that sort of stuff. But we'll take the
oh,
subscriber. And for those of you who are listening, if you think we're being a little bit crass, I'm not going to go too far with it. But Woody and I both have discussed in the past that sometimes when serious things happen, is it deflecting? Is that what we decided to call it?
yeah, I think so. It's a way of deflecting the real pain or something of that nature. I'm not
It
really
could be
sure of
just a
that.
sign of our immaturity too, but it's probably some of
Well, that's
that.
probably more. Yeah, that's probably more to it than anything. Yeah, so it was this past weekend, which was Easter weekend, and he passed the Saturday before. So when my brother told me, I then thought about it a couple minutes later. I texted him back. I said, "Well, why don't we let him lay there for 3 days just to make sure?"
No,
Get it? Easter.
I do get it.
Yeah. So
Well, in all
you're talking
seriousness,
about joking around, and he got the joke.
yeah.
So
Well, it's interesting. You know this. Both my parents are gone, and we just went to my dad's gravesite this year or last year, calendar wise, and it'd been 20 years. He
really,
passed. Yeah, he passed in like February of 2006. No, 2006.
yeah, I say 16's 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, and so it just goes
Hmm.
by so fast,
It
and
does. That's crazy because I'm thinking I still remember meeting your father and everything, and I'm like, oh God, he wasn't that old when I met him. Well, that was 30 something years
yeah.
ago.
And then,
I didn't realize
of
it.
course, you lost your mom, and then
I
your
lost a lot. This
yeah,
past
you
10
had
months has been terrible. I lost my mom, my stepfather, our pet of 15 years, and now my father, all in the last 10
yeah.
months. So yeah. And not only did I lose, so did my children, of course, lost family members. So yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough, but we're all as a family, getting along and dealing with it in our different ways. But yeah, so
Well,
life will
good on you.
continue. I was glad I had a long time with all those people.
Yeah,
So.
that's what I used to work with a fella that was at the time, his name is Chris. Chris was probably in his 60s,
Mhm.
and his mother was like 90 or close to 100, And
Right.
so he had lost his father, and he was demoralized by that. And Chris was like 60 when his dad passed, and his dad would have been 90, I guess. And then his mother was still alive, and he was the guy that farted all the time in the office. But he was across the hall from me, and I had just lost my mom at the
Right.
time, and I was, well, 20 years ago.
Did he give it a 21 fart salute or
Well,
something?
I was in my 40s, whatever it was, when mom passed too. And so this guy would go on and on and on about his mother dying. And I'm like, dude, you're in the business, first of all. You sell
Right.
life insurance and all that kind of stuff and
You're
long-term
around
care.
this constantly.
Yeah, and she's 90 something and you're 60 something and you're wailing over this person passing. Get over it. Um I don't know. People grieve in different ways, and in hindsight, you get to do that. You get to grieve how
Yeah.
you need to, and that's important.
And
But
I do appreciate all those who reached out via texting and different avenues to me. I do appreciate that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't remark, and I'm not sure if you know, but another listener of ours' father passed in recent weeks, MX5.
yeah, yeah.
So it's we're at that age now, where our parents are
Does he
all,
know about your dad?
yeah, he was one of the ones who reached out. So
Okay, because
uh,
typically because of my line of work before, when someone tells me, I don't go to the woods and tell
yeah,
people.
either am I. That's a private, to me, that's
Yeah.
private for other people. In fact, I even have a tough time telling people. I'm like, well, people don't want to know my wife always says, would you stop worrying about what other people think?
Well,
You
she's right.
know,
They do
yeah.
want to know because they care about you.
Right. All right.
So
And so that's why I eventually let a few people know, that are in my close orbit, where I can text them and easily like that. I didn't want to put it on Facebook or anything that
no,
big, so
look
so
at
I
me. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
like that either.
exactly. That's where I'm at with that kind of news. Please feel sorry for me, kind of
No,
thing. So I don't like sharing it, but nonetheless, this show
well,
helps me air that out to the entire world. So
Well, thank you for letting us in to do that.
yeah,
So that's pretty cool.
no problem.
So I wanted
I'll
to.
be crying after the show, Dave. Thanks for bringing
That's
it up.
fine. Yeah, we'll find out what you're drinking tonight. But anyway, did our buddy Pat Kelly get in touch with you?
No.
Okay, so I have to confess, I did something. I didn't tell him about your dad,
Oh,
but
okay.
Pat Kelly reached out to me.
Now wait a second. I reached out that. Oh, go ahead, finish your story, and then I'll tell you what I
He
did.
texted me and said, "Hey, pops, can you shoot me Woody's number? Because I'm going to be in Charlotte. I don't
Oh,
want to steal his thunder
right.
because he's going to listen to the show and go, thanks, Theus. But he's going to
Yeah.
be in Charlotte.
I decided not to reach out to.
Yeah. So he may be giving you a call.
All right.
Act surprised.
I will.
Um,
I will. Because he
yeah,
doesn't listen to this show at all. I
no,
wouldn't
not
know.
at all. But he did have some remorse about missing you at the 50th. And he said this might be a good chance for you all to
Oh,
connect.
okay.
So it'd be
No
pretty cool
problem.
to do
No, I
it.
thought I
And
texted him when I drove by his exit when I was in Florida months
mm,
ago, back
maybe
in
so.
November. I thought I did, and I didn't get anything back from him. Maybe I got the wrong Pat Kelly.
Yeah. Or he said, Woody, who's Woody?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, tonight, I got to tell you about my cough in a minute, but tonight I got a call from our two Order of Constantine. Well, one of them anyway.
Yeah, but
And
representing both.
yeah, they're going to come into Jacksonville Saturday, it turns out. Alan and Tim.
Right.
Tim doesn't know about this yet. Of course, Tim doesn't listen to the show, but Alan does. Alan
What?
listens to us in the car.
Why
So
can't Tim listen? It's his little
I don't know.
brother.
He's got a lot on his mind. He's a grand
Just tell him to do what I do and put it on 2 times play speed. So we sound like chipmunks.
Okay. Well, anyway, they're going to come up Saturday for some big hullabaloo Sigma Chi training from 8:30 to 4:30. And so Alan was telling me about all these, breakout sessions. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a real slugfest.
That's how I like to spend my Saturdays.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 60 guys in a room together. Yeah, that sounds fun. But we're going to meet up at Al's place. He's got a house up here not far from me, and I'm telling Sheila this, right? And I'm like poor mouth. I'm like, I don't want to do this, man. She goes, shut up. You'll get yourself an Uber. You'll be out drinking. You'll have a good time.
All right. Call your air conditioning.
Yeah, call my HVAC guy and get an Uber set up and get your butt out there.
Who do you like to use when you Uber? Jennifer? Oh. Anyhow,
right.
well, that'll be fun. We'll say hello for us and for me.
Maybe we'll do something.
I don't need any drunk dialing later in the evening, by the way.
Hey, I got Woody's number. Let's all give him a call.
I've experienced those phone calls in the past.
Well, I promise we won't show up at your house with no clothes on and about 500 firecrackers.
That wasn't my house. That never happened to me.
You weren't the one that we showed up with the firecrackers at the Sig House?
No. Oh, maybe it was at the Sig House, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, so many people did that. I got lost track of who did it. Yeah, it was always somebody's first pick was the fraternity house to do something.
Yeah, so we ran out of a bunch of black cats, and I don't know.
Yes,
we were out of control. All right, we digress.
All right, yes.
What do you got?
Well, just because I've seen it 12,000 times, speaking and watching YouTube, but apparently tomorrow is Giving Day at UCF. Do you get those ads?
I don't know. I've quit getting phone calls from the finance department. So,
why were they calling you?
No, my degree was in finance. And so
I thought you still owed him money.
Yeah, let's settle this parking ticket once and for all, will you?
Oh, I hated those bastards, man.
Yeah, I mean, you'd spend all that time and money, and then they'd be like, hey, you're obviously really successful with your UCF degree. How about cutting us a check? And I'm like, no.
I've never said. My business school calls me all the time, right? Wake Forest. I'm like, shouldn't every business school be self-sufficient? If you're good at running a business, aren't you self-sufficient? Shouldn't you be able to raise your own money?
Well, that's probably how they become self-sufficient. They build one of those, what do you call that when you have a bunch of money?
Got a name just went out, just escaped me, but I know what you're talking about. Harvard and them are so large now they don't charge tuition because not the annuity, but
endowment.
The endowment. Thank you.
I knew it would come to me sooner or later.
Yeah, and with
I just
they
have
have
to look down.
Is that
and the endowment?
Yeah, that helps. So with a population that big, a population of students that large, I wouldn't think they'd be hurting for money, that they need to do a Giving Day.
No, I always felt bad though, because one time the chair called me, Dr. I can't remember his name. I never had him for finance, but I knew of him. He was maybe an Indian guy. I can't remember, but
I wouldn't have a clue.
He was one of those guys that you knew, I never had him for a class. And so he got on the phone and I said, I introduced myself and I said, why do you have to call? He goes, yeah, well, it's part of the job. When you get tenured, you got to raise money.
Make the phone calls. Yeah. Well, that's how you get tenure too, is raising money.
Yeah.
Right. And
sucks to be you.
We've talked about that before, right? Where back in our day, they would look to the sororities and fraternities to come in and do the solicitation. They would open a call center at the top of the dean's building, and it would say, "Okay, Sigma Chi's, it's your night." And so we'd all come down there, and long distance calls were expensive, so there was an open phone. So you just come in there with your own book of numbers, and you call all your buddies.
How did I know it was going to go that direction?
Right. No one would raise any money, maybe $5 here and there. You do a few legit
You're on the phone to
calls,
your sister in
right? And your
Arkansas or
mom and
something.
dad. So everybody would come in just because they said, "Oh, at the end you can make 5 minutes of phone calls." We just did it the whole time. It wasn't like anybody monitoring who you were calling. They
Some of these
walk by, you're
calls
like,
are
"Yeah,
like
yeah,
30 and
$20."
40 minutes long.
Right. Took a long time to get zero money, man. He had me on the line forever.
You
So
said
yeah,
never
that was
say no.
yeah, that was so yes. I do remember doing that.
So that kind of reminds me of a funny story. Speaking about fundraising and phonathons. So one time, I, I don't know if I had graduated yet. I hadn't gotten to UCF yet. And so I was a realtor, believe it or not, for about 6 months.
I do vaguely right out of college, right?
No, I did it.
Maybe.
I did
Oh,
it
okay.
prior to UCF. I was, trying
Oh,
to
oh
figure out what I
wow.
was going to
Okay.
be one day.
All right. So that's
And
why I
so,
know the stories then, probably.
yeah, so our office was, up and coming, whatever. And so the local channel 24, remember WFTV? Was it WFTV? The local PBS station in
Yeah, it was
Orlando.
right down the street. I have a similar story, I think. It was right down the street from the college.
Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah, over
Um,
there across the street from that bar. A lot of bands would play there. Anyhow, go on.
yeah, whatever. So they would have phonathons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You would go out to the studio, and if you were a member of an organization like we were realtors, and we were the ones that were going to man the phones, and so
Right.
it was a Saturday night, and my buddy Doug Dale was having his big blowout party at his apartment, right? And he's like, "This, you got to be there." I was
Yeah.
one of those guys that had to be at the party
Of
apparently.
course.
And I'm like, I got to do this thing. I got to do this phone thing. I can't ditch.
Right.
And so it's kind of like the story about us in the library. And I
That's
said,
what
I
I'm
tell you what I'm
envisioning.
going to do. You guys watch the phonathon. And because remember, it would pan to the
Yeah,
panel. You could see the
it would
people.
show the 8 or 12 people on manning
Uh,
the phones, and they were
yeah.
on a tiered
So,
system. Yes.
I'm in a sport coat and a tie. I'm on the panel. There's a guy sitting next to me. I kid you not, was 600 pounds. He was massive.
It made you look small.
I was like a little kid, and I was in pretty good shape back then, but I was tiny compared to this guy. So I get on the thing starts. Well, everyone apparently we didn't. This is before recording stuff. We couldn't do that.
Right.
But the party's going at Doug's place. Everyone's gathered around the TV, and they call in and they get me on the phone. And so they got the biggest kick out of it. They would like touch your nose, and I would touch my nose, and
Did
they
you
would be.
pregame before though?
I wasn't drinking, no.
Oh, okay. All right. I was one of your blotto on the screen.
But there was like specials that would come up like for free, buy burgers, get one free. And then
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
all making jokes about the guy next to me and stuff. And I'm trying to maintain, like, oh yeah,
Right.
okay, sure. You want to do $50? And they're just
Right.
dying laughing watching me on this phonathon thing. I
Well,
don't know.
the whole premise, there were all those auctions, right,
Hmm.
where local businesses would donate items, and then you would phone in and place
Bids.
not
Yeah.
bets, sorry, bids on
Yeah.
the item. So me and Mr. Price, to keep the innocent, one night we're like, well, somehow a volunteer thing came up. Why don't you come down and volunteer? So we went down there to volunteer because we heard you got a free dinner out of
Yeah.
it. So they didn't really have a job for us. They're like, well, go over there to the calligraphers, because remember they would do what the item was all done in calligraphy, and then they would
Yeah.
hang them on the wall. And they're like, you guys just bring them from the calligraphy to the wall over here. And we're like, all right. And they're like, put them in the order and all that. So sure as crap, I put them in the wrong order. So they're trying to read off, they're playing to read them. The host is trying to read them in the order, and they're in a different order on the wall. It's a mess. And so he's like, let's just go get our dinner. So we got our dinner and left. And so that's the extent of my volunteering for a free dinner. I brought over a group of cards, and they got on the wall in the wrong order. And we're like, we'll just eat and get out of here. So,
Well, a lot of those events, we never got invited back to.
yeah, I
So,
wonder why. I never understood why. But
but apparently that was a big smash. The watching me scratch my nose and talk to the
Yeah,
guy
that
next
would
to me.
I would have made you go a little bit farther. When I used to run the boards at that radio station in the middle of the night, the gang would call in and try to get me to do stuff, and I wouldn't. I just pretend I was. Oh, they're
Well,
like, cut out the
the
music
show
now.
producers, that's not the first time this happened. So they're
Right.
keen to what's possibly going on, and so they don't, you don't want to give it away too much.
Well,
Oh
like
my
I said,
God.
I'm picturing you blotto up there like your tie half done.
No,
You're
I was
sweating up a storm.
like, what's his
You
name?
can't find the
Tommy
phone.
Boy.
You're trying to pick up the phone and it's falling and
No,
stuff like
I
that.
was straight arrow, but it was hilarious.
I wonder if we could go back and see footage of this. If it's got to be somewhere, right?
That stuff was probably real or something.
Oh, I'm sure it was not film, but videotaped. But a lot of people took all that and did. PBS and NPR were always first in technology, right? Because they had being government funded, they could push the envelope as far as technology goes and stuff like that. And so they were always at the forefront of technology.
I
So
don't know
if there
that
was
set we
any
were sitting at, that 600-pound guy. I don't know how the technologically
that
sound it
chair,
was.
hey man, that chair held up the whole time. It must have been a kick-ass chair. So,
I don't
but
know. It
yeah,
was
from a
fun.
technology stand, so if there's anybody that would have digitized their library of tapes, I assume that would have been it. That they would have done that.
Yeah,
We'll
I'd
have to
have
look
to.
into that.
Yeah, I don't even know what time frame. I know it was.
WFTV
I think it was. Wasn't it WFTV
sounds
channel
familiar.
channel
Yeah.
24?
I don't know about the channel, but it was PBS, and like I said, the studios were out there right down the street and everything. So
Oh God, the stuff we did. But anyway, all
stupid
right.
stuff.
Well, I do have a two-sided stock update. You up for that?
Two-sided.
Well, it's kind of two sides of the coin, so to speak.
All right.
Um, for those of you who don't realize this, I'm 62, and we opened this account when I was 60, so 2 years ago. And the idea was to play around with some money and see if we could get some return on the investment. And we did really well, but none of us really calculated on this thing happening in the Middle East. And there's ways to make money when things like this are happening. We'll talk about that in just a second. But there's plenty of ways for the market to get a little unsettled, and that's what we're experiencing now. There's a lot of uncertainty, so the big
Yeah,
board's
because it
moving.
should. Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
That's okay. But the big board moves one day, and then the small caps get excited, and then they puke on the next day. So the key is you got to have some staying power. I likened it to playing roulette. You can't go to roulette table with $50. You got to have $2,000 and ready to hold on and keep playing. So um we had a gold play going on, thinking with all the inflation going on, and that was a smart move, but I got out too soon. And that gold's
Too soon is relative, right? You made money.
Yeah, I mean, I have a rule that if I'm at 40% return, you got to take it. I mean, you just
Yeah,
don't be greedy and get out.
exactly. So I wouldn't
So
call
we
that
did.
a
We
loss.
did.
Yeah.
And then I looked at uranium was something that we were looking at, because what I do is, for those who don't know, I watch the news. I watch the news, and
What?
I read a lot of stuff, and I'm
Wow.
listening to what the talking heads are talking about. And turns out uranium at the time, we were going to move to these small power plants, and they're still going to do that. I don't know that the big push for the nuclear power plant is going to be on. It's going to be natural gas, probably, because it's a smaller footprint. But uranium played in the mining field well and made money there. And then I was listening to Bloomberg Saturday morning. This is how terrible my life is. I turn
Yeah.
on the TV. I think was I sick that week or not? But anyway, so I'm watching Bloomberg Saturday morning, just kind of surfing the channels, figuring out what's going on. And there's this gal and a male and a female reporters, and they're talking to this guy who is representing the helium industry. And so I'm like, helium, what's helium? You put it in balloons, right?
Yeah, the Hindenburg, man.
Well, yeah, hold on. So he's talking about there's a problem with helium, and it's used in all kinds of tech, like in chip manufacturing, and the business that you're in with the fiber optics. It's
Mhm.
used in the new data centers to cool things. It's a cooling agent. They use it for most of it in the technical industry. But helium's a shortage because Qatar is a big producer of helium, and it's a byproduct of the natural gas exploration, decaying rock, thousands of
Mhm.
feet down, that sort of thing. Well, it turns out Qatar decided to shut down because of the Straits of Hormuz was messed up. And
Right. And
so, yeah, so there's a shortage of helium across the globe. And my ears perk up. I'm okay, shortage helium. That's good, right? And so the lady goes, well, what about all the party balloons? What are we going to do? And so he goes, well, I mean, that's one of the consequences. And she goes, well, what's an alternative? Couldn't we use can they just use hydrogen and for the party suppliers? And he looked at her like, are you serious? And he got real quiet. She goes,
so
no,
you were
seriously.
watching that live?
Yeah, it was on Bloomberg, Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, Bloomberg.
All right.
And she goes, what about hydrogen? He goes, well, they tried that with the Hindenburg. And
Okay. I'm sorry I stepped all over that.
and it didn't turn out very well, apparently, for the Hindenburg, because the Germans wouldn't
I
sell them.
saw I do know this story now that someone said, and maybe you sent it to me. I don't know, but that's funny. I saw this as a meme, not as a live like you're watching it.
Well, someone may have caught it too and put it into a meme with, the party.
I,
I sent you something about party balloons blowing up or something.
maybe that's what I have in my head. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
So,
I was like, what kind of idiot says stuff like that, but she was serious. She was like, well, no, seriously, what about hydrogen? Why can't we just put hydrogen in the party
well,
balloons?
I'm
Anyway,
not gonna give her excuses, but online. Well, let me say this: was she a guest or was she
no, she
a
was the
host?
host.
Okay, well, she should be comfortable in front of a camera and not just blurt something out because it's dead air, kind of thing. But as you were talking, I was trying to remember if it was helium that was inert, but it makes a lot of sense if it's in kids party balloons, it better be inert.
I hope
So
so.
I guess we just had a little glitch in the system, but that's fine. But what I was saying was it's funny you bring up helium because I'm studying up on welding at this point. I'm a terrible welder, and I got to get better. So I've been reading this old book on welding, and helium, because it's an inert gas, is one of the gases they use to what's called shield a weld. And so when you're welding, the metal being in a liquid state, if you will, can get corroded, right, by oxygen and other things in the air. So you pump an inert gas over it to keep it clean until it hardens and keeps all the impurities out of there and everything. So helium is used in the welding industry, but primarily over in the European nations because they don't have as much access to argon, maybe, that we
Yeah.
use over here. So anyhow,
Well, to finalize the stupidity of this woman or this person, I should say,
oh, that's
um,
right.
she says, "So what are we talking about price? So is it going to go up? Is it going to double? And what do we, what kind of prices are we seeing?" And he goes, "Well, we're getting close to $2 a foot." And so she goes, "You measure it in feet, like 12 inches?" He goes, "No, cubic feet." So we
You
say,
had me at that one too.
$2 a foot. It's a gas, lady.
Well, I'm done too, and I would have said the same thing. I'm like, well, why don't you finish it off with the cubic part instead of letting it lay out there?
Well, he was kind of, he was a little full of
Snarky.
himself that, he
Okay.
was the boss.
Uh,
But I was like, this is, I think it was Bloomberg. I want to say it was Bloomberg's Saturday morning show. And I'm like, you should not be on this program. You should
well,
always talk
Saturday morning is when she was on there.
Yeah, I guess
You were
so.
probably one of 12 viewers on the
Maybe
show.
I was on Sling or something like anybody else was.
Right.
All right.
So
Well,
it's
that was
interesting.
so helium is a play. I looked up a couple small caps. One of them is trading at 3 cents. What's it
Three
called?
cents a foot.
3 cents a shelf,
Shell.
a share. And then another one's at 32 cents, and there's one at $1.50. and one at 250.
So are you buying a commodity or you're just buying someone who
No,
produces helium?
they're mining companies, and so they
Okay.
mine it. And so the one I'm looking at is a subsidiary of Duke Energy. So I'm
Really?
thinking,
All right.
okay, they got some staying power. So I haven't purchased it yet. I'm trying to watch and see what it does. But
What's the Duke one at?
it's like a dollar 30, I think it is.
All right.
Um, and it's going to be used like tremendous in these data centers. They're going to use as part of the cooling. So
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So that's why I brought up the welding thing, because in electronics, they also have to shield all the
okay,
soldering
hold
they
on.
do on the
We got a
PCB
guest.
boards.
We got a guest here.
Oh, we haven't used her yet today, have
Hey,
we?
Alexa, can you tell us what industries and why they use helium?
Oh, this won't take a while.
Helium's unique properties make it
Hold
invaluable
on,
across
Alexa.
many
Hold on, hold on. Alexa, volume 9. She
We
got
heard her just
zapped.
fine.
Well, she got zapped. All right, again, Alexa, share with us the industries and why they use helium.
Sure thing. Helium's supercool properties make it a star in many industries. It's used in MRI machines for cooling, welding to protect metals, and even in space tech to inflate balloons and rockets.
Well, they use it to cool the magnets in the MRI.
There you
Um,
go.
so there's a lot of use for it. You don't,
Yeah.
I would have never known that. I just think about, sucking on party balloons. Um, but
Well,
I
you're
would have,
saying this Iranian war, Strait of Hormuz, or however you pronounce it, is the reason they predict helium's going to go up.
well, Qatar is one of the
Right.
big producers because of their geo, you know, whatever their,
Location. Right.
well, the way their Earth strata is, and it's hold on a second, Alexa, how what formation produces helium? How do you mine helium?
Helium forms naturally from radioactive decay of uranium and thorium in Earth's crust. Miners extract it from natural gas wells, where it accumulates in porous rock formations. The gas is then separated using cryogenic distillation, which cools the mixture to near absolute zero, allowing other components to condense while helium remains gaseous.
It's a
So
crazy
the
thing.
so the guys who go around looking for places to mine, do they just go to the communities and listen for everybody with high pitched voices?
I guess
Hi,
so,
how you
or
doing?
they put their lips to the ground and suck on it. I don't know. Um, But you
It's
think about
gotta be.
how they get this stuff out of the ground, and then apparently you got a limited time to move it because once it turns from liquid back to gas, it does like evaporates or cools off. I don't know what it does, but it's just mind blowing how we use things that you don't think of for different things.
For
So
everyday tasks. Yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah,
not just for party balloons.
so this is more of a long play, but helium could be something as industry changes and technology changes, we're going to see more demand for. So I'm looking at it. I thought about putting $1,000 and split it up between these four companies. And so if
Right.
I do $250 per purchase, 250 divided by zero point zero 0.03, that'd give me 8,300 shares of the one company, and then off of there. So I don't know.
But as
Yeah.
of tonight, the strait is open.
Well, they just closed it again because
Okay.
Israel hit Lebanon, and now
Oh,
the
that's
the
good.
Iranians are like, "Oh, I thought you guys weren't going to do that
Good
anymore."
Lord. Yeah. All right.
It's a mess.
Jeez. Anyhow, we won't get into that on here.
No, but
All right. So maybe there is still potential to play the helium angle.
yeah,
Hey, I'm going to put you on the spot,
yeah,
Mr. U.S. Constitution. But
sure.
we didn't always elect our U.S. senators. Is that correct?
No, in fact, here's a copy of the Constitution of the
Right.
United States right here.
Why don't you look up the 17th Amendment, man?
Okay, I'm on it.
All right.
17th. Oh, it's Roman numerals. Hold on, that's 12.
That's an XV2.
I got it. Okay. The Senate of the Senate of the United States shall be composed of two senators from each state, elected by the people thereof for 6 years. and each senator shall have one vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislatures. When
You don't have to read
vacancies,
the whole
yeah.
thing.
So what I think what happened was the state legislator voted them.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to read because today is the anniversary of the of this amendment being ratified. Is it ratified? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called? The
adopted
Constitution adopted.
1913.
Yep, there you go. So up until then, I guess, yeah, they were, and I guess it was it says ratified here. Okay. It was adopted during the progressive era. It represented a rejection of the corruption and inefficiency that had taken hold in legislative elections as U.S. senators in many states. So,
Would that have been Woodrow Wilson? Hold on. Alexa, who was president of the United States in 1913?
well, there's Roosevelt, wasn't it?
Woodrow Wilson was President of the United States in 1913.
So, just a quick history lesson for my buddy Danny. Woodrow Wilson is labeled as the progressive president, and
Oh,
we get the progressives from. And the way that comes to us is he was pissed off at how slow Congress did things. And by design, our framers didn't want to move hastily. They wanted to build in these stop gaps so that we would take our time and move slow. And so the progressive wanted to do progress. And so
right.
his thought was, we're going to take the power that was mandated that Congress would have and speed things up a little bit. So that's where some of these voting changes happened during that
Gotcha.
era.
I wonder if that was his doing or that amendment, if he proposed, who proposed that amendment, or how do you do that? Do you bring it to you have to go to, who ratifies them? Congress, right?
Yeah.
By a high vote, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably 60 or 2/3.
Yeah.
Alexa, who originated the 17th Amendment?
The 17th Amendment was proposed by Congress in 1912 and ratified on April 8, 1913. It
All right,
established the direct election of United
Yeah,
States
man.
senators by popular vote, replacing the previous system where senators were chosen by state legislatures.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's not ask her again because she's just going to keep repeating herself. But anyhow, I thought I'd bring it up. And quite fittingly, we started the show with my father's passing. And I just noticed today is also the anniversary of Hank Aaron's 715th career home run. Do you remember that at all?
Your father was Hank Aaron?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Now, one of my so
I
this
thought his
was
name
in
was Wayne.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what we just said it to everybody so they wouldn't know. Wayne, Hank Aaron.
I see the resemblance now. I see it.
Exactly. No, one of my early childhood memories. So this is in 1974, and so I would have been 7 or 8 years old. My father came into mine and my brother's bedrooms and woke us up and brought us into the TV room because Hank Aaron was coming up again. And he just for some reason thought there was a good chance he was going to break the record, and sure enough, he did. So, like I
Whose
said,
record did he
fittingly,
beat?
Babe Ruth.
Babe's, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think now Hank Aaron's been beaten by Barry Bonds, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. Ask Alexa who holds the all-time home run record.
Alexa, who holds the all-time Major League Baseball home run record?
Barry Bonds holds the all-time MLB home run record with 762.
With an asterisk next to it. Yeah, he was
juiced.
The juiced era. Speaking of the progressive era, that was the juiced era in baseball.
And then it was the guy before him was the white guy.
No, but he didn't have the all-time. I don't think he ever held the all-time. I think
was he
you're talking about
year?
McGuire. Yeah, the single season record is what he held. That Bonds also beat. Yeah, in that sense. So
you ever seen those black and white footage of like the great Babe Ruth taking batting practice, and they've have you seen those colorized
movie
reels recently? They're coming out on Facebook. I see them all the time. I don't know. We were talking about this earlier that these people were people just like us.
Yeah.
You see them in black and white reels, and you're like, they don't make sense. But they show the colorized ones, and suddenly you're like, that guy looks like me, or I could see that. He looks like somebody I know.
Right.
And it's like
So I,
1913 or at the Hague or whatever.
if I remember right, I think I went to a Braves game once too, in which Aaron played, and I saw him live. So it's
Wow.
a good chance that I saw Willie McCovey play his last home game that with my father yet again. My father was really big on taking us to sporting events. That was his thing. So much so that one time I told him, "Can't we do something else?" It was like, so we went to the movies that night and we saw Airplane of all movies. And now you know where I get my sense of humor is from my father, because that was his kind of movie. Monty Python, Airplane, things of that nature.
Those are bad ones.
No, no, he had a good. You know, it's really funny though. At the end of his life, like when I was there, he refused to watch a comedy movie. Just nothing. Yeah, they're all dumb. You know, I'm like, what do you mean? You're the one who took me to all these things as a youth, and now they're dumb. You know, so. I don't know at what point that changed in his life dramatically, but yeah, he won because I was trying to talk him into watching Talladega Nights, which is a pretty good movie. And I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. So we passed on it while I was there last time. And I was supposed to go out and see him again in a week or two. And I was going to rent it and force him to do it that time. But unfortunately, didn't get that opportunity. So, well,
Well,
that
thankful that you
brings
got to
us
see him, though.
yeah. And with the glitch, we're kind of close to time. We're at my best guesstimate, we're around 2 to 3 minutes off our normal time. But if we
Okay.
want to say goodbye, you're fighting off a cold, right? At the
Yeah,
tail end of it.
sure.
So
Hopefully
that would be
we
good
can
for you to
shake it.
take a break.
I
Yeah,
agree.
we'll give you 3 minutes off.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
All
with all
right.
those hard work weeks you've had lately, like I
Yeah,
can
those 4 day
imagine.
weeks are killing me. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've asked you from the very beginning of the show, if you like what you're hearing and you're sympathetic or empathetic to us, so just subscribe. Push the
Yeah.
subscription button. Or you can ring the bell if you want to, but whatever. But please subscribe, tell a friend, share it. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you for tuning in, or Spreaker, or iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to
Anything.
podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun out there this week. And again, we'll catch you next time, I guess, right?
Yeah. If you can find a record button.
Oh yeah, I gotta do that again. All right, well,
Mm,
guard well
yeah.
and oh gosh.
He can't talk and click buttons on the
Well,
screen,
stop. Okay,
folks.
here we go. Stop
All
recording.
right.
See you later.